Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And we are back this week with oh man, Una, this is probably the hardest I have ever researched a topic, and
That's saying quite a bit.
I don't want to say too much because anything I'm going to start to lead into is going to start giving away spoilers. And I've been so excited to talk about this one for a while and could not believe just how much information is out there about it. So I'm just going to dive straight in on this one.
Yeah, lay in 2021. Live like there's no tomorrow. There might not be.
2022 is a myth.
It's honestly what I think to myself always.
So going into this episode, I have probably had the hardest time figuring out how exactly to tell this story. With most of the topics we've covered beforehand, there is a very clear chronological story that plays out. The origins are super clear. But with this one, well, to call it a rabbit hole would sort of be accurate. It's really more of like an anthill with one pathway branching into multitudes, all of them just going deeper and deeper, and all of them leading on their own weirdly branching paths.
Oh God, I'm already tired.
Yeah. So I think I figured out the way to tell this story without it being a complete mind-melting bit of chaos. So for this particular episode, we're going to bounce around a little bit through time. But first, Una, I'm going to tell you about the core tenets of the third party that we are talking about today. So the New Alliance Party describes themselves as a party that exists to create an alliance for marginalized communities across America, predominantly people of color, the LGBT community, women, and progressives. The party means to act as a way for these marginalized communities to have a voice in local, state, and federal government to directly fight racism, sexism, and homophobia. How do you feel so far?
Feel pretty good.
Right? The party would declare that food, healthcare, and education were a basic human right. They would promote the idea of a constitutional amendment guaranteeing low-cost housing for every American. They would pitch an AIDS Bill of Rights to fight against discrimination of anyone with HIV or AIDS. They were unabashedly anti-capitalist, and they placed the importance of mental health as the absolute core of their party. And to top that all off, they were a party that proudly proclaimed that everyone in positions of power were people of color. Now, Una, if that party existed now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you seriously consider voting for them?
Yeah, especially the housing part.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, how do we have pursuit of happiness and nothing? Could we just get a little subclause in there saying like, also, it really helps you to find happiness if you don't have to worry about where you're sleeping that
100%.
night?
Yeah, this is basic social determinants of health. If you are not worrying about your basic needs, you get to be a healthier person. And, Salt Lake City ran a bit of a test where it's like, hey, if we give away free housing, what's the effect on homelessness? And it turns out it goes down. And the cost on the system goes down as well because people aren't going into hospitals all the time. They're not constantly going into social services. They have at least a basic start to what they need so they can start to re-enter the world.
Yeah. There was a study done, I think, in one of the middle provinces of Canada, I think, where the city realized like we've been dealing with mental health and addiction issues by addressing the mental health and addiction issues first. We're going to start by addressing the homelessness or housing insecurity issues first, and then see what we need to basically flipping it, saying that I think because the rules had been like, oh, well, if you want this Section 8 style housing, you have to get off the drugs first. And it's like, well, how about you get the Section 8 housing and then you start to wean yourself off of the drugs that you're addicted to? And they found out it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
Fancy fucking that. Well, yeah, and the thing that I think most people don't realize too when it comes to houselessness, to get an affordable home, so many of the organizations that are out there have wait lists that are anywhere from a year to 3 to 5 years to even get on the list to get a home. And there are so few organizations that are doing that work that the need completely outweighs the availability. And if we were in a capitalist society that, also had empathy, we'd be like, oh, the market is demanding we need more of these services, so maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very frustrating. Yeah, there's just so many things in this particular party that I like. They're saying all the right words. They're things that I really, really like. And the crazy thing is this party existed in the 1980s. So this was a time of extreme conservatism from the heights of government in which the AIDS pandemic was completely ignored. Life was purposely made worse for communities of color on a regular goddamn basis. And rich white men strengthened their iron grip of control and power on literally everyone that they could. And it was the same period of time that a white nationalist party ran for president and David Duke nearly became governor of Louisiana. It was both the period of time in which a party of that sort had the least chance for success, but was also the time it was needed the absolute most. So why? In the midst of a burgeoning rise of progressives and democratic socialists and Antifa and all these wonderful, great things, do we know fuck all about the New Alliance Party? Have you heard of them before, Una?
No, it sounds like fraction party that formed in one of the later seasons of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's I think that's pretty fucking accurate. So to start the very long answer to this question, we should look at who would become the public face of the party, a woman by the name of Lenora Branch. So Lenora was born in 1950 in the Philadelphia suburb of Chester. Her mother Pearl was a registered nurse, and her father Charles was a baggage handler for a railroad. And there isn't a ton out there about Lenora's childhood, but it is known that she was very active in her local Baptist church, where she sang in the choir and played piano. However, at the age of 12, her father would pass due to a sudden seizure. Her family had called an ambulance to try to save him, but they couldn't get any to come, primarily because her neighborhood of Chester was predominantly black.
Ah.
Just refused to go.
Oh, Lord.
So this moment would become a huge catalyst on her life and become one of the two moments when Lenora realized that her greatest desire in life was to fight for the disenfranchised. This fire would be increased after her church choir director was suddenly fired. Lenora would state, quote, "Everybody sort of knew the choir director was gay, but nobody said anything about it until they decided to replace him so they could do something else with his salary line. They used his homosexuality as an excuse to get rid of him." Her mother would encourage Lenora to just keep her head down and pray, but instead Lenora fought for the choir director to keep his job. And in the end, she wouldn't succeed, but it only made her want to fight even harder for anything in the future. By the time Lenora was a senior in high school, attending the predominantly black Chester High School, she was ready for her next fight. For the first time in school history, the school had elected an all-black student government. The student administration saw this and tried to force them to add a white student to the class cabinet. If I remember right, I read that they said it was they wanted to, what's the word I'm looking for? Desegregate the student council, I believe was the exact word that they used.
Ooh.
So Lenora took this under consideration and immediately organized the student body. She went back to the administration with the threat of a full-on walkout if they forced to add a white student to their duly elected student government. And the
Right.
administration backed down.
Yes.
So Lenora would end up with a full scholarship to Hofstra University and graduate there in 1971. During this time, Lenora became more and more interested in black nationalist politics. Now, I think we have to take a second because when we talk about white nationalism, it kind of brings a lot of really shitty and accurate descriptions where it's like, yeah, it's racist and very violent and god-awful. So the term black nationalism could potentially bring up the same imagery just with a shift of race. So it's important to note the distinct difference based on the centuries of colonialism and genocide, and that black nationalism has a much stronger focus on ensuring that white culture doesn't succeed in assimilating or completely eliminating black culture in history, which white culture has kind of had a habit of doing since forever.
Big habit. That's why you know Elvis as the singer of all of his songs.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at Elvis, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, literally any music between
Yeah.
the 50s and at least the late 70s, and then the 80s and probably the 90s.
Eric Clapton's I Shot
Oh,
the
God.
Sheriff.
Yeah. Boo. So yeah, so when you think black nationalism, that is a lot more of what it is. It's more about trying to have your culture survive in a country that is trying desperately to suffocate it.
At the very least, just receipts, it sounds like just acknowledgement.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lenora would also meet her husband Richard at this time, and the two would both decide to take a brand new last name when they got married, and they would choose the surname Fulani, which was the name of the largest ethnic group in West Africa. They would end up having 2 children, all while Lenora continued her studies. She would earn her master's degree at Columbia College's Teachers College by the late 70s, and follow that up with working as a researcher at the Rockefeller Institute, and then earn her PhD in developmental psychology from the City University of New York.
Nice.
All while raising 2 kids.
Oh, I put pants on today.
Lenora Fulani made her own pants and then put them on. How about that? Deal with it.
I'm a very demanding fat cat. It's basically my child.
So while Lenora's main focus was on activism, it was her shift into psychology that would completely change her life. In particular, it would be the study of a new theory called social therapy that would make all the difference. So social therapy was billed as a progressive and accepting form of mental health that specifically catered to marginalized peoples. And the crux of the therapy involved discussing mental struggles in a group setting, but also improving the sense of one's power in the world by becoming active within social causes and political movements. The general idea being, you're sad because the world is terrible, so the way to cure your sadness is to make the world better and to be an active participant in making it better.
Taking some agency and using that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lenora directly credits this therapy as helping rid herself of her own prejudices that she used to have towards people. Following graduation, Lenora would leave the Rockefeller Institute and begin working at the New York Institute for Social Therapy and Research, a firm based in Harlem. But the reason we're talking about Lenora would come only a couple years later. So in 1977, New York City had their mayoral election, and coming out on top was a liberal congressman by the name of Ed Koch. So, well, formerly liberal, because you see, Ed entered Congress in 1969, and as the idea of liberal moved further left, Ed moved further right. And when the 1977 Democratic primary for mayor rolled around, Ed found a pathway to winning by tracking further to the right than any of his other candidates, who were mostly ranged from somewhat liberal to very fucking liberal. Ed would end up running on a law and order platform, and then the New York City blackout happened.
Oh boy. And it was basically handed to him on a platter.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the New York City blackout, here's the basic gist of what happened. So at 9:27 p.m. on July 13th, Con Edison's biggest generator completely blew, and the entire city of New York went completely dark. 9 minutes later, the whole Con Edison system collapsed. The whole of the city wouldn't regain power for another 25 hours. And it being New York in the fucking 70s, the whole town went nuts.
There's also I will jump in just to add that the I think the first season of Evolution of Hip Hop talks about this blackout and how in the Bronx it managed to supercharge the evolution of hip hop basically because all of these underground DJs had been it wasn't that like looters went out into the streets and just like grabbed what they could. It was like, oh my God, I can finally get a hold of this piece of gear that's going to make my life so much easier and be able to revolutionize music as we know it.
It was such a weird and violent and scary time, but it also we owe the future of hip hop to this happening, to like Con Edison's entire system falling apart, jump started an entire music genre in one night.
Also, to the people who like don't know about the blackout in New York, what are you doing? Like, did you somehow not spend your teen years just going into deep dives of the era of New York when it was a shithole? And
oh my God.
And if so, like, why are you so normal? And how are you listening to this podcast?
Look, some people don't go on Wikipedia dives like we do at 3 a.m. Start reading about strange noises in the ocean. But yeah, that's the other thing. There's a lot about 1970s New York that is both interesting and horrifying.
I love it all.
It's great. It's like if a rat became sentient and developed the perfect city, it would be near New York in the 70s. It wouldn't quite be perfect, but it'd be close.
You're like, why is it like that rat won't stop swearing at me? But it's so cool and I don't want it to stop.
Look, its ideas on public transit are really on point, so we got to make that worse. But yeah, so there were three major reasons why the city went completely bugfuck too. For one, there was kind of a serial killer on the loose at the time.
A little bit.
The Son of Sam serial killer was going around, specifically, if I remember right, killing brunette women.
Yes.
And just like randomly shooting them on their way home. And so, of course, people were horrified by that. So that was going on. Secondly, there was a huge recession. So you had people who were very desperate and in need of a multitude of things. And finally, the city was also in the middle of a humongous heat wave. So when the lights went out, a bunch of uncomfortable, desperate, and scared people went out and took what they fucking could.
Also, when it comes to heat waves, even though the planet is warming as we speak, I don't think people recognize exactly what a heat wave does to you psychologically. Like in the 70s, AC was really not a thing. Like the Irish embassy in Washington, D.C. was considered hazard placement.
Oh, God.
Because, well, think of, the poor Irish coming into D.C. when air conditioning was not standard in apartments. But there was a summer, like, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago in Chicago when it was 100 degrees or over for multiple months. And I've never overheard so many breakup conversations over cell phones in my life. Like, you're miserable. You are constantly miserable.
Mm-hmm. And so during the 25-hour period, 31 neighborhoods in New York City were affected. An entire 5-block stretch of Crown Heights was completely looted. The neighborhood of Bushwick also had a sudden burst of arsons because, funny thing, if you had an empty building and you didn't feel like renovating it, you would just mysteriously burn it down and get an insurance check. So yeah, while the town is completely pitch black and no one can see you doing anything because there's kind of chaos around you, what better time to burn down your abandoned building and get that sweet, sweet insurance money?
And then live 35 years and think, fuck, if I just sat on that building, it would have been worth millions.
No, like arson's for the impatient.
Arson's for the now.
Yeah.
Throwing back to last week's episode, arson's for the 25 grand you owe today.
Oh my God.
As a 16-year-old.
I've been betting on the Jets for 3 weeks. I need the money now. God damn it. So yeah, so by the end of the blackout, 1,600 stores were looted, 1,000 fires had been started, and 3,776 people had been arrested. In total, $300 million in damages had occurred, and in 2020 money, I believe the total was $1.9 billion. So a typically liberal-leaning city still had to pick a Democrat, but the more right-leaning he was, the more likely he was to win, and Ed Koch ended up being the right person at the right time.
Oh, then we got the famous Ford to New York City drop dead.
Wait, what?
Oh, he said that don't sound like an idiot. No, wasn't it 1977? And I think New York City had completely bottomed out in its recession, and it asked the federal government for basically bailout money, and it was Ford to Koch drop dead, or Ford to New York City drop dead. It was a picture of Koch holding the New York Times paper.
Jesus.
Or was the New York Post maybe? Yeah.
Oh my
the
God.
federal government was just like, no, you're on your own.
That's fucking cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Ed Koch wins the election, and welcome into office. The city is in severe debt. Have fun. And so the first thing he decided to do was to announce a 10% reduction in funding to the city-run municipal hospitals, which today it is the largest hospital system in the city of New York. The budget for DOHMH is freaking humongous. And so he hops in, he's like, all right, we're going to cut 10% from this. But not only that, but we're going to close 2 hospitals, Metropolitan Hospital in East Harlem and Sydenheim Hospital in Central Harlem. So congrats, predominantly black Harlem. Mayor Koch isn't taking one, but he's taking both of your hospitals. And as an extra just kick to the stomach, Koch also declared a war on graffiti that seemed to really focus on punishing communities of color across the city.
Oh boy.
So the thing though is Sydenham Hospital also has a long storied history as a hospital for the black community since 1892. It was the first hospital in the city to hire black doctors and nurses. It was the first hospital to ever have an African American woman as director. It was one of the few hospitals to also specialize in treating sickle cell anemia. Not only would Koch be taking hospitals from a community that the US government had just declared to be a medically underserved area, but he would be shutting down one of the few hospitals in the city that not only catered to, but frequently hired black professionals. And so the community of Harlem would rally together and begin what became known as the Dump Koch movement. There is a very famous picture of someone who had graffitied Dump Koch on the side of a subway train.
Nice.
It's very beautiful. In 1979, interns and residents of the municipal hospital system staged a one-day walkout. The Coalition to Save Sydenham was formed to begin legal proceedings to keep the hospital open, along with forming protests and publishing essays on the need of the hospital for the community. And at the time, Lenora would dive into the fight as well. While others focused on the legal and grassroots activist fronts, she would put her flag on the political side of the fight. And in 1979, Lenora Fulani and a few of her cohorts would create the New Alliance Party, a black-led, multiracial, pro-gay, and pro-socialist party to run in local and state politics. And the party would make an attempt to recall Mayor Koch, but were ultimately unsuccessful in getting enough signatures. They'd also run their first ever candidate, Democrat State Senator Joseph Gallagher, for Bronx Borough President. The state senator had previously lost the Democratic primary for the position, placing third out of the 4 running. And for the actual election, State Senator Gallagher would actually do incredibly well, especially for being a candidate of a first-time third party. Riding his extreme popularity in his home district of the South Bronx, Gallagher was able to finish in second place out of 5 candidates. Then again, he only got 17.6% of the vote, losing by nearly 40% to incumbent Stanley Simon. Following the loss, Joseph Gallagher would return to the Democratic Party and serve as state senator until his death in 1995.
Oh.
But the New Alliance would follow up this great performance in 1980 by running only one candidate, and this time it would be a guy by the name of Moses Harris, who ran for U.S. Congress in New York's 14th district, which is famous nowadays as being AOC's district.
Hey, the mighty 14.
It's so great. And once again, the New Alliance would not win. But Harris scored a very respectable third place finish with 7% of the vote. They were having great success in the grassroots and doing very well just running local races. And in the end, Koch would bend slightly. He would agree to allow Metropolitan Hospital in East Harlem to continue to run, but with a very diminished budget, but Sydenham would still have to close. The hospital would serve its last patient in 1980. And Ed Koch would go on to the 1981 mayor election, enter the Democrat and Republican primaries, and end up winning both.
He double dipped and won?
He double dipped and won. Republicans loved him. Centrist Democrats loved him. You closed 2 hospitals. You punched graffiti. Thank you, Ed.
The New York mayoral race just constantly feels like made for epic Greek tragedy of like, what? Like, why do you keep ending up with these larger than life men? Like, I just keep thinking of Bloomberg and Giuliani. You're just like, yeah, you know what you need? Stop and frisk, motherfuckers.
It's so fucking weird. Every year you get, I mean, even right now we're already preparing for 2021, and it's an interesting list of fuckers, I'll tell you that. But, you know, I'm excited for Andrew Yang. I'm very curious to see what he would do for New York City.
I'm sure
we all know
excited.
But we all know they're gonna nominate some centrist dipshit who's gonna be like, I'm a Democrat, but you know what we need to do? I think we need to give the police twice the budget.
I'm a Democrat, but I won't raise taxes on these pied-a-terres that are owned by Russian oligarchs who don't even live in them while people remain homeless and FIDI. No, it's fine. It's like, yeah, you know what? That guy's onto something. What is wrong with you, New York?
It's mine.
Like, I know what's wrong with Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Chicago, we're working on it.
Like, I'm aware of the glass house that surrounds me, but come on, New York.
Yeah. It is a mess, and it's always been a mess, and hopefully it will stop being a mess. But we'll see when we do our 2021 New York mayoral episode.
Oh,
who knows? Who knows how that's gonna go?
Just give me a couple weeks advance so I can start drinking again.
Deal. So Ed Koch would easily cruise to a second term, and weirdly enough, the New Alliance Party didn't run their own candidate for the race. But it was mainly because there was another party that sprung up at the same time, another anti-Koch political party called the Unity Party. And they ended up putting in a candidate by the name of Frank Barbaro, who is a state assembly member in New York. I assumed that they assumed that he was going to be the biggest name they could get, and so the New Alliance Party endorsed him as well. And Frank Barbaro would do fine. He'd end up getting something like 20% of the vote, and Ed Koch got 75% of the vote. But, it was a decent showing for a brand new political party. And so by 1982, the New Alliance Party was ready to make their jump to statewide politics. The Unity Party was as well, but sadly, the two parties had a bit of a breakup. You see, the Unity Party kind of had the idea like maybe we should endorse some Democrats. And so, all right, so we need to talk a little bit about the way New York State does politics because it hurts my fucking brain.
I was just going to say, Dusty, I do not have all night.
Right,
regardless of how this pandemic has left me.
All right. New York has 8 billion political parties. It is
They
have Republicans and they have Democrats, but they also have a bunch of like smaller niche parties that will typically endorse Democrats and Republicans, and sometimes that's a way to stay on the ballot, and sometimes they'll buck the system and endorse their own candidates. But especially in the 80s, this was very true. So you had Republicans, you had Democrats, you had the Conservative Party, you had the Liberal Party, you had the Right to Life Party, which literally just ran as an anti-abortion party. And anytime there was a Republican who wasn't anti-abortion, they'd just run some Yahoo. And so this is still going on today in politics in New York. The Working Families Party is a part of this. There's a women's oh my God, what's the name of that women's rights party that Andrew Cuomo invented?
Oh,
yeah, Andrew Cuomo invented a women's rights party that I don't think has ever endorsed a woman.
Amazing!
It's great. It is.
I'm
sure they probably have by now, or they just
parody in America. Yeah. There's the Rent is Too High party.
Oh
now
my
that
God,
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's very easy to start a third party in New York, but one of the best ways to keep it going is to endorse major party candidates and kind of pick and choose your fights. And so the Unity Party is like, yeah, we need to pick and choose our fights. And if we start endorsing Democrats, we might be able to pull them further left. And the New Alliance Party, whose very first candidate was a Democrat, who temporarily was a New Alliance member and then immediately went back to being a Democrat, their whole thing is, no, we will not work with the Democrats. Fuck you.
Oh, they were proto Bernie Bros.
Yeah. So yeah, they completely broke up going into the 1982 election season. And the parties also kind of disagreed on the main goal of the race, because at the time, parties needed to get 50,000 votes in a state election to be considered a major party. And if you got that status, then you automatically have a spot on all state ballots for every race. And if you don't get that, then you have to go collect ballot signatures. And if you don't have to do that, you're saving a fuck ton of time and money. Collecting signatures is probably like the third worst part about running for office. It's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, I worked for Greenpeace for 2 weeks before they fired me. I know how hard it is.
Why did they fire you? Were you just
because I wasn't bringing in any money on the streets of New York? Like they put me in the financial district in the middle of the day, and they're just like, "We just don't think you're really selling it." I'm like, "I'm not."
No, no, I appreciate the 2 weeks at minimum wage.
I'm tethered to reality, unlike yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's a delightful thing whenever you go to Chicago or New York City. If you see someone with a clipboard standing on the corner of the street, either turn around or cross the street. They will ask you for money, and the really good ones are trained in ways to get your attention and try to shame you.
Yes.
It's not great. So yeah, so the Unity Party is just like, look, we know we're not going to win. We just want to get 50,000 votes. And if we can do that, then we can really make some good change here and probably pull people further left. As for the New Alliance Party, though, well, let's first talk about who they nominated. So for governor, the party would nominate school board member, former teacher, party coordinator, and 39-year-old Nancy Ross for governor. And Lenora Fulani would be the lieutenant governor. So when Nancy was asked if the 50,000 vote haul was her goal, she flat out said no. Instead, she said, the party hopes to alter the balance of state politics by running against liberal Democrats who start to drift to the right. Una, for $50,000. What does that mean? I don't know either. It's word goop. That is, if you are the party coordinator, you need to have a better line than that.
Especially like just a better line that doesn't sound quite like indoctrination.
Yeah, but it's also just like, you're new here. Like, what are you gonna do? You run 2 candidates. I mean,
how's the line not? Oh no, we're definitely hoping for more than 50,000 people because we want to get the word out.
You could just do the improv thing of yes, we want at least 50,000 votes, and also this. But you say that, then you're saying the exact same fucking thing that the Unity Party is saying.
Unity.
Stupid Unity Party. So aside from a little blurb in the New York Times where Nancy Ross was quoted as saying that word salad, the New Alliance Party would have absolutely no influence in the governor's race that year. Mario Cuomo would cruise to a very easy victory for the Democrats, and Nancy Ross would finish next to last, only beating out the Socialist Workers' Party. Also, they fell very far short of the 50,000 threshold, getting total statewide 5,277 votes.
So they got 10%.
A little over 10%. Yeah.
Oh.
And sadly for the Unity Party would end up in 5th place with only 1,100 more votes than the New Alliance Party. And they'd kind of truck along for a little longer, but they would eventually die out in the 90s.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a pretty big failure, especially considering the fact that the first guy you ran got 70% in a local race. The second guy got 7%. And then you're like, fuck it, we're ready. Let's do the big thing. And you get 0.1% of the entire fucking vote.
Yeah, they're using the playbook of every sad, weird hate group that is also a third party that we've been examining for the past year.
Dude,
I
don't appreciate
expect
the way you're
better.
talking about Alan Keyes. But yeah, you're 100% right. This is the same mistake that every third party in America makes. Like, you have something that's working and then you get too fucking big for your britches. And you know, the other thing is in 1982, they didn't run anyone else. They didn't run anyone for borough president in New York City. They didn't run anyone for city council. They didn't run anyone for Congress. They didn't run anyone in any of the races they had previously done well in.
Where they really could have made a difference as, I don't know, like Reagan's America became in fuller view.
Well, and yeah, and you've ingrained yourself in New York City, specifically in Harlem, specifically in all these grassroots locations in the Bronx. Why are you just continuing that? Why are you suddenly shooting for the fucking governorship? And I kind of have an answer. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps this was just a test run for something bigger. Because at least this way you can learn some lessons. You can see what you did wrong. You can see where you got overwhelmed.
Fall down, pick yourself back up.
Exactly. And I mean, I would at least hope that this was the case, because in 1984, the New Alliance Party would announce that they were running for fucking president of the country. Una.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. And look, we've said this before on the podcast. If you are a time-traveling politician, the worst year that you could get stuck in is 1984. You will not win the presidency. No one had a chance that year.
You will die in an avalanche.
There is no timeline where you can get Ronald Reagan to lose that election.
Your best bet is that the glacier melts in 20 years and your body is exhumed. That's it.
Oh, this poor libertarian tried so hard.
Look, he was frozen with a pamphlet in hand.
Look, an honorable libertarian death. That is. But yeah, so they decided to run for president in 1984. And once again, it seems like this was the only race they ran.
I mean, I'm so brokenhearted about this because, as you're saying, it's like they were known in the Bronx, they were known in East Harlem, they were known in parts of Manhattan. That doesn't even mean they could have won Brooklyn. Like, they would have had to win over Queens. And you want to go national?
Yeah.
Are you
like Staten Island if you want to fucking challenge?
Yes, thank you. Like even the 5 boroughs, certainly at that. I mean, my God, at that time, Brooklyn was just a sleepy like suburb essentially of Manhattan.
Yeah, and it's like it's not like a hyper local party like that couldn't work. If you look at Cincinnati, they have the Charter Party, and it's a party that's so fucking boring. I've been trying to figure out how to do an episode on it, and there's no way to make it interesting. It is just a Cincinnati political party. That's the story. And so this is the Charter Party episode. You're welcome, 2 in 1. But it works. And there's every possible way that I especially think in a larger city where you have a higher number of progressives and a small enough number of Republicans that you really could start a further left party and have some level of success.
Certainly with New York City, where it's not only, it's hyper local with significant purse strings.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. That's a really good point.
Like if you're looking to actually like do things, you would still need to work with Albany, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so they're running for president, and lucky for them, they got themselves an incredible candidate, a union activist by the name of Dennis L. Surratt. So Dennis is a resident of Harlem and had been a union activist since 1964, and the dude was an absolute force to be reckoned with. He founded the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists in 1972, was the vice president of the Communication Workers of America Union, and today is the president of the United Association for Labor Education. Dennis's most notable claim to fame was heading up a successful strike against the New York Telephone Company that lasted 7.5 months.
remember
and
when we
fucking
used to
won.
remember striking. I don't, but I'm just saying that of
Yeah,
like
when was
as
the
a
last time a
nation.
company went on strike? Honestly.
Well, okay, so again, like this is perfect timing for this because it was the Reagan years that really like broke us as a
Mhm.
nation of striking because they managed. I think it was the not the
Oh yeah, the air traffic
flight
control
work. Yeah,
union. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
Oh,
was
that's a sad story if you ever want to read about that.
yeah. If you feel like crying over labor laws,
Ugh.
anyway.
Yeah, it's a
so
fun time. It's a great fun time. So
so
yeah,
back when we used to strike like Frenchmen.
exactly. Yeah, and so Dennis Surratt was just a dude who would be in your fucking corner. And the dude was actually very politically active as well. The Consumer Party, which was a Pennsylvania-based third party, had initially considered nominating him for president, but ended up backing down from the idea, predominantly because they were a local third party and they didn't want to get too big and waste a ton of money. So the Liberty Union Party of Vermont, who are the folks who gave a young Bernie Sanders a political home for a number of years, would make Dennis the chairman of their own party. And it would seem pretty inevitable that at some point, a progressive party would eventually convince Dennis into running in some regard for them. Now, I'm not entirely certain on this, but it seems like the moment that Surratt and the New Alliance Party became acquainted was during the attempt to save Sydenham Hospital. And that would be because Dennis was one of the leaders of the cause. And the idea of a black-led and truly progressive party intrigued Dennis. And after being asked, he became a member of the party, joined the board, and became their first ever presidential nominee. And for VP, he got Nancy Ross, a sweet white lady from Upper West New York, who at this point I think is now 41. And lucky for them, the two lived only 5 stops away on the C train from each other, so it made meetings really easy.
Okay, that's really cute. And I hope our listeners out there put together some meet cute fan fiction.
Oh my god.
Just gonna throw it out there.
Oh my god. Yeah, if we start getting fan fiction of this stuff, I will both be the happiest person in the world, terrified to read it,
So
and
terrified.
oh my god, I will love all of it. I will get into fan fiction just for that. Oh man. So the ticket would end up getting ballot access in 33 states. But to even get to that many, the New Alliance Party had to align with other smaller parties that had ballot status in their states, but no presidential nominee. In Vermont, they ran as the Liberty Union Party. In New Mexico, they were the New Mexico Alliance, and so on. Despite that, Dennis was still very passionate about why he was running and why he felt that the New Alliance Party were the right people to back. Quote, "Fascism is on the rise in this country. The good old days of the Ku Klux Klan and the John Birch Society are back again. We want to build a force of blacks and progressive whites that will counter the right wing." And as for why he was going third party, Dennis would state that he didn't see much of a difference between Republicans and Democrats, stating, quote, "Blacks have tried to gain power in both parties since Reconstruction, and they have failed." Dennis's platform included a Jobs for All program, a national healthcare program that seems a whole lot like Medicare for All, and increased funding for housing, daycare, and social service programs. And this simple plan for how to pay for all this, you cut the fuck out of the Defense Department budget.
Oh,
Yeah, this is just like music to my ears.
yes.
This is all shit where it's like, oh, we could have nice things.
Yeah.
Like we could pay people to do public works projects and actually be able to give people a decent wage. That would be amazing.
Oh, what could have been?
Ultimately, Dennis's goal was to fundraise $200,000 and get 6 million votes. But in the end, they would only get 46,000, and he finished in 7th place, right behind the white nationalist populist party.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah, so it'd been a really rough attempt at the presidency. Once again, making it look like the party had reached too far and should have maybe been focusing on local races in New York City where things went well. And Dennis had tried his best, and after the election, he really seemed to have other things on his mind. So much so that right after the election, Dennis would leave the New Alliance Party. The party would put out a statement saying that Dennis did this due to the failing health of his wife, which was fucking news to Dennis.
What?
So Dennis took a trip south to the Jackson Advocate, the only black-run newspaper in Mississippi and one of the most activist papers in the entire country. Turns out, Dennis had some less than great experiences with the New Alliance Party, and he wanted editor Charles Tisdale to be the first to hear it. First off, Dennis's wife is fine. She is not dying. She is not even sick. She's fucking fine. And secondly, you gotta get yourself a fucking chamois because tea is about to end up goddamn everywhere. You see, the New Alliance Party, the group founded by Lenora Fulani that had many women of color in high-ranking roles and proclaimed themselves to be black-led, Dennis found out that was actually a complete and total lie. Turns out the New Alliance Party was being led by a guy by the name of Fred Newman. And yeah, Fred was white as fuck.
Oh, no.
So we got to go back in time a little bit here to learn a bit about Fred Newman. So Fred was born in 1935 in the Bronx. After high school, Fred would serve in the Army, do a tour in Korea, and then return to America to get his BA at the City College of New York. And in 1962, he'd graduate from Stanford University with a degree in analytic philosophy and foundations of mathematics. Keep that degree in mind. It will be on the test. So following grad school, Fred bounced around multiple colleges, doing the journeyman professor thing. And not shitty colleges either. He taught at CUNY, dude taught at freaking Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. Anyway, Fred would eventually leave this life, and why depends on who you would ask. If you ask Fred, he dropped out of teaching because he kept giving all of his male student A's as a way to keep them from getting drafted. And if you ask the universities, they fired him because he kept giving dudes A's. Like, I kind of get it. Like, Vietnam sucks. You want to make sure people don't fail, but you don't have to give them A's. You can give them C's if they suck. You don't have to just suddenly be like, you have a dick. Hey, best of luck, ladies. But you know what? Fuck teaching. Fuck universities. Una, fuck the man. Because Fred, he's got to change the world. And the only way to do that is outside the bourgeois university system.
Oh, this never ends well.
So in 1968, at the age of 33, Fred and some friends would form a political collective called If Then. Now I need to take some time on this. If capitalized. If is capitalized. Ellipses, 3 dots. Then is capitalized. Una, the name of the group was If Ellipses Then.
Oh, it hurts.
This is going to change the world, Una. This storefront bullshit. First draft nonsense. This like fucking stems and seeds pot dream is going to change the fucking world. When I read that, I had to walk away from the paper I was reading. It was so infuriating. So this is what Fred's fucking doing. All right, so the group focused on anarchistic and confrontational methods to organize and raise the public consciousness. Una, for $20,000, what the fuck does that mean?
That means walking right up to me and then really getting in my face and saying, well, actually...
Wonderful. Exactly what people wanted in the late 60s. A grungy 30-year-old running up to you and yelling about anarchy. It's, you know what? It's almost too perfect of a plan.
In 1968, how about I be allowed to take out a credit card in my own name while being unmarried?
I don't think people are ready for that, Una.
Nope.
I think you got to burn like 6 bras for that to happen.
Not for another 10 years.
Oh, God. No, we're going to do this. We're going to...
No, if then.
No, we're going to do something that a lot of people in New York do. Yell nonsense on the street at strangers. It's going to be fine. It's going to be Billy Eichner, but less entertaining and about politics that no one likes. Anyway, it would only take 2 years for Fred to get incredibly bored with that idea and move the fuck on. And in 1970, Fred would create the Centers for Change, or CFC, which shifted to a more introspective form of what they had been previously doing. They would describe the CFC as, quote, a collective of liberation centers, including a school for children ages 3 to 7, a community-oriented therapeutic and dental clinic located in the Bronx, and a press operating out of the CFC offices, and also a community media project and information service for the people of the Upper West Side. So it's a bit more of like a resource center. This is a little bit more in the social service vein of things where they're actually, doing something.
Okay, Fred.
And this time, Fred would stick with the CFC, mainly because he was on the verge of a complete fucking breakthrough. So working with his cohorts, Fred began to develop his own theory of therapy, a theory that became known as social therapy. Now, reminding you, Fred does not have a degree in psychology or any medical background. He is a philosophy doctor with a focus on maths. I don't know how that works. Una, help me.
It leads to starting a political party called If Then.
There's no numbers in it. I don't know what he's doing. And either way, Fred would begin offering social therapy to marginalized peoples and encourage them to enter the political world. And it just so happened, though, that when Fred meant go and be the change you want, he meant, this is my political party, and it's perfect for you. And in 1975, Fred would create the International Workers' Party, a Marxist-Leninist outfit of communistic ideals. Now, I tried very hard, once again, to try to figure out the difference between Marxism, Leninism, Marxist-Leninism, Stalinism, Trotskyism. I think it's look, I've been playing a lot of Crusader Kings, and I think it's one of those things that when you have enough power, you can just suddenly create a dogma of some sort. And this just kind of feels like that. It's just like, I'm the leader of Russia. I think I have to do this now. Otherwise, no one will take me seriously.
Least of all myself.
Yeah, so Fred now has a political party, and he would get rid of it 1 year later. And this is because, well, he kind of wanted it to be a secret society. It's kind of hard to be a communist in America in the 70s. And so he felt the better way to be able to operate this sort of political party is on a need-to-know basis. So there would be people at the top, and they would get word out to the various underlings and things for things that they would do, which was mostly just like, fundraising and petitions and letting them know who joined the party and who left. But also at this time, Fred would found the New York Institute for Social Therapy. And weirdly enough, nearly everyone who went there for therapy ended up joining the IWP.
Oh, no.
And shortly after that, many started cutting off relationships with family and friends who weren't members.
Oh,
they started
no.
donating all their time and money to the party. They began attending social therapy classes anywhere from twice twice a week to daily. And by 1979, when the New Alliance Party was founded, it turned out a lot of the members from the IWP and patients of Fred Newman were the very first members of the New Alliance Party. Probably because the other co-founder of the party alongside Lenora Fulani was Fred Newman. And according to Dennis Surratt, Fred Newman was the person calling the shots for the party. And Lenora? Well, her and Fred met in the mid-70s. She became a specialist in social therapy after he treated her in a social therapy setting.
No.
So when Dennis Surratt came forward to the Jackson Advocate in 1985, he was the first to put a huge crack into the facade of everything that Fred Newman had been building for the past decade. And while he wasn't the first person to say it, he was the most prominent person at the time to call the New Alliance Party a cult.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a heartbreaking third act twist.
So here's the weird thing I found out is in New York at the time, at least in the 70s, there were kind of parallel outbreaks, I suppose, of therapy cults and Marxist political cults.
Oh, this is fascinating.
So at the same time that you had Fred Newman running his International Workers' Party, you had a guy by the name of Lyndon LaRouche, who, when we have, 2 months to talk about that fucker's life, he was starting his own Marxist party that was going to shift very strongly into anti-Semitism, fascism, and racism. So at the same time, you also had a guy by the name of Gino Parente, or his full name, Eugenio Mario Parente Ramos, who was also leading his own left-wing political cult that kind of birthed out of an anti-poverty movement, where he put them all under this organization called NATFOLD and essentially created his own Marxist cult. Funny thing about Gino, though, is he was born Gerald Doden, and he was white as fuck, pretending to be a Latino guy. And yeah, he was a former disc jockey turned small-time grifter and con artist.
Well, he had that voice.
Ultimate con.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this was going on at the same time. There was the Sullivan Institute in New York that essentially turned into a sex cult based on the idea of mental health. And yeah, so this was a very common thing. So now with Fred Newman, the Venn diagram has met in the middle, where we're going to be talking about a therapy cult that turned into a Marxist political cult.
Oh boy.
Allegedly.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we don't have lawyers yet.
Oh, don't tell everyone that. Our lawyer Sullivan and Sullivan's.
Yes.
But yeah, so I know this went kind of quick, but yeah, how are you feeling so far with the New Alliance Party?
Oh my God. Well, like my heart got ripped out.
You know the worst part of this? We haven't even scratched the surface, Una.
Oh my God.
Because we have drama. We have theater drama coming up.
Yes.
We have shitty grifting. We have so much coming out. My personal favorite, the New Alliance Party answers the question, where do gay come from?
Oh my God.
All this and more.
Wow.
Our following series on the New Alliance Party. I am so overwhelmed by these people, Una. It is.
I can't wait. I love, first of all, that it's Scientology. If L. Ron Hubbard hadn't realized that he could get a better tax break by being a religion instead of a political party.
Oh no, that's the much better grift. This I think we're going to talk a lot about Fred Newman and trying to figure out his motivation for this, because it's a decent grift. It is a genuinely decent grift, and there's times that I think he believes his shit, and it's
which brings up the question: is it a grift if you believe in it?
I don't think so. I think at that point it becomes just a cult. It just becomes become a cult of personality on your own.
Yeah. Do you feel because you're right that the cults via therapy and all of this stuff was huge in the 70s, and I'm realizing now it's like we're re-entering that. I mean, obviously you have like the Nixum and all of that stuff, but even stuff like MLMs and just that level basic grifting that also comes with a little bit of like toxic positivity mind fuckery.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, psychology has had just such a weird short history so far that's gone from people starting out just being like, we are doing our best guess on why we think the way that we think. Maybe women want dicks. I don't know. Let's throw it on the wall, see what happens. And then, you start to get people who are actually thinking things through, come up with really interesting ideas. Then suddenly they're not allowed to do torturous experiments, and, they have to have ethics now. And then you hit the 60s where any fucking Yahoo can create their own form of therapy, kind of guise it under this idea of new age Wahoo bullshit, and essentially just create their own little cults. And that's kind of the danger of, I don't want to say that's the danger of all therapy. Therapy is extremely good and very important. But this is why we have strictures. This is why evidence-based practices are a thing. This is why if you're going into group therapy, there are ways that you're supposed to fucking do it. And there are red fucking flags when it comes to this shit. And yeah, I think the thing that makes me the angriest with this so far is they're entering into the world many worlds that I care about the most, whether it's theater or the world of social services and actually fucking helping people and mental health. This guy just goes in and shoves his dick in all of it. So these are going to be a fun couple of weeks, Una,
Yep.
as we just talk about batshit lunacy.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to watch the French Connection and all those gritty 70s movies of New York.
Oh man. Well, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us this week, guys. We're going to be talking about the New Alliance Party at least for the next couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all had a really good holiday. I don't know if we said that the last episode.
Oh,
But
Happy
yeah,
New Year.
but yeah, if you like what we're doing here, recommend it to your friends. Give us a review on the iTunes. Apparently, that's important. I don't know.
It is. You Android loving fool, you.
Look. I like phones that work. I'm sorry. It's a flaw. Anyway, now that I've alienated half of our audience, if not most.
No, this will get him talking.
Yeah, we gotta fuck the algorithm. It'll be great. Anyway, join us next week on Gadfly. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?